addressing something that came out yesterday and came out to this morning. Um, the United States, they're trying to sneak more money into the funding for the Ukraine war. And we were told that the supplemental bill that was passed did not contain any funding for Ukraine. And then later on in that day, which was yesterday, Biden said that he had talked to McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, and they had agreed to fund Ukraine. And now this morning, we see Lindsey Graham. I saw a clip of Lindsey Graham saying that they're going to give Ukraine $60 billion. Now, the reason I wanted to bring this up first, we know that this war is bleeding the Ukrainian nation. We know that it is breaking the back of American empire and the European Union. But one thing gets ignored in all of this is, again, I have to keep bringing this up on every show because it is marginalized by most shows and most pundits, is that there was a budget government analysis of what it would take to eradicate homelessness across the board in America, and it costs $20 billion. And this same government study said that it would take another 20 to 30 billion to completely eradicate poverty across the United States. Now, why is it that Lindsey Graham, Joe Biden, McCarthy, and the rest of the government officials seem to think that America's national security lies 10,000 miles across the seas, and they neglect home when this is of the most critical, um, um, needs the most critical addressing, especially as people are suffering. They have to choose between health care, they have to choose between whether to eat or pay their mortgage, or whether to buy medicine or to pay their car note. Are these people lunatics, and why is this happening?
Well, there's a lot packed in there, what you asked. The Biden administration, prior to the continuing resolution to keep the government open, had requested $24 billion. I have no idea where Lindsey Graham came up with the figure of 60 billion. But the point is, one is that this war was totally unnecessary. It didn't have to happen. It shouldn't have happened. It could have been avoided. There were legitimate security concerns that the Russians have had increasingly since 2014 coup that took place in February 2014. And those security concerns, which are legitimate, were never addressed. There's a faction, I call it the geopolitical faction in the West, which has this perverted, diseased idea of a zero-sum game of the world. And they wanted to use the Ukraine situation to destroy or so weaken Russia that they would have to submit to all of the dictates of the new rules-based international order. Now, you raise a very interesting question on the money. As you might know, and Matt knows, I'm an expert in African affairs, which is a rarity in the United States. And I was discussing the same point with somebody else because I've been working with some Africans on establishing an Africa Infrastructure Development Bank, which would be totally dedicated to infrastructure, which is the most serious need of Africa. It's killing people every day. The lack of electricity, lack of railroads, infrastructure. And we were discussing how we would capitalize the bank. And I said, well, we have to get the United States to do it. The United States will never do it because they'll say we don't have the money. Now, one thing that was pointed out in this year and a half long war between Ukraine and Russia is any time the United States wants to, it has the money. It's actually a good feature of our Constitution that the founding fathers put in, that the government can create debt. That's a good thing. And the problem is only the refusal to issue money to deal with the homeless question and the poverty question in the United States With $100 billion, we can make a major dent in providing electricity to Africa, which is starving from electricity, really. These things could be done, but everybody says, no, no, the money's not there. Where's the money going to come from? Well, this shows you that when there's a decision made to spend the money can be created. It's now part of our debt. Whether you like the war or don't like the war, the government has now given Ukraine over 100 billion, and I don't think it's going to stop in the near future. And I think the U.S. will continue to push that kind of money in, even though there is resistance building. Not There's some resistance in the Republican Party. There's resistance in other countries, and there's various reports of how successful or unsuccessful the Ukrainians are. But now the issue is on the table. Is the United States committed